Pink Poodle Crafts, join the Poodle Pack. It's time to get creative and make you laugh. Make your own art today. Pink Poodle Crafts is the way.
What a good boy. Hey, crafty family. Hello, how you guys doing? Happy New Year. It is 2020. Can you believe it? And we still don't have flying cars or teleportation. It's not fair. So I'm making a video today because I wanted to, this year I wanted to kind of do some things other than just crafting. It's related to crafting as well. And disclaimer, I'm not good at talking off the cuff, but I'm also not good at staying on some sort of written thing. So if you don't like rambling style chatting about things, then this ain't the video for you. Let me flip my gain down a little bit so it's not reaching the red, because my microphone was all messed up from the New Year's Eve stream, so I'm hoping everything's working okay now, because I had to move everything out to the kitchen, including my camera and all that. Anywho, so I want to let's start this way. I get a lot of questions about things. People will ask me things about how to start a channel and this, that, and the other regarding that type of thing. And I'll get at least one question, between 1 and 5 questions, probably a week, in email or messenger, asking about YouTube and how to start a business on YouTube. And now I want to, and I try to give as much information as possible, which is hard to do over text. Sometimes I'll, be talking to somebody who's really interested, and I'll, take the time to get on the phone with them and talk to them about it. And this week alone, I've had several conversations in different aspects about this subject. So I just thought that it might be a good idea to make a video, because I would like to help anybody interested in going about it the right way, at least what's worked for me, because, unfortunately, I'm not an expert. I didn't go to college for business. So I may not even be qualified enough to even make this video necessarily. But because I have had several businesses, and when I say several businesses, I don't mean, one failed, so I started another one. It wasn't anything like that. I've had several businesses, and they were all successful. And what I categorize as successful and what you categorize as successful might be different. Successful to me is, at the time, it was working for what I needed it to do, if that makes sense. So, and I learned a lot of things over the years. I've absorbed a lot with various jobs I've had. I've absorbed a lot dealing with people, and I've been dealing with customer service and people for a long time, so I knew how to do things. I've had sales jobs, marketing jobs, advertising jobs, where I worked in those fields in some capacity that it gained me a knowledge that I wouldn't otherwise have had unless I went to college. And somewhere, I read that if you have 10,000 hours of experience in any one subject, you can be considered an expert. And I don't know how true that is, but if that is true, then I guess I would be an expert. I don't know. But I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But because I have found formulas that worked over the years, and I've had several small businesses that have worked very well for me. Several, not just one. I've done a lot of different things in my life. And the reason was because I always, starting out as somebody who worked for worked for other people for, all the way up until I was in my, mid 20s ish. I worked for, several companies because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but every time I worked somewhere, it wasn't a lack of me not wanting to work. It was me not wanting to work doing what I was doing for somebody else, if that made sense. And I was too young and inexperienced to understand exactly what that meant and exactly how to go about doing what I wanted to do. My father, I don't talk to my father because he's not the nicest person in the world, and he was always quite judgmental of me, but I can give him credit in one aspect, that he was an entrepreneur for sure, and he started business from the ground up and made it into a huge business that, you know, he made a lot of money over the years. And so I think that was passed down in my blood somewhere, because the same work ethic that he had, I have. It's just, you wouldn't really have known it from the how many, jobs I would, I had a really good work ethic anytime I had a job, but I would never be satisfied with the job. And I always found a reason to leave it and find a different job because there was something missing there. And I believe wholeheartedly that it wasn't until I worked for myself and started my first business that it dawned on me what the deal was and why I was so, why I had such an issue and why I never felt fulfilled, was because I just naturally needed to have my own business, and naturally that was kind of something that was easy for me. And the only reason I think it was easy for me was because my father had a business, and I think that kind of drive or something was passed down to me, even though it was a little misguided in the beginning. But also I think the experience I had throughout working for lots of different companies and doing lots of different types of jobs to try to figure out what I wanted to do. And college was not really ever something I did consider college for a while, and actually business college actually, but I was kind of pushed off on that, because when I went to my mom about going to see colleges with Chris at the time, and I never will forget this, for the first time I felt like there was something I wanted to do, and I felt like if I had, I was in my senior year, and I felt like if Chris wanted to do it, we were going to do it together. And I figured he would help motivate me and I would help motivate him, and I would get through it, because school was not my forte. Definitely not. Like, I had the hardest time in school, retaining information, because it was things I didn't want to know about. You know what I mean? But I feel like if I would have actually went to business school, I think it would have drawn me in, because I didn't realize it then, but I think once I got there, I would have definitely realized, oh, this is my niche. This is what I need to be doing. But because when I went to my mom about it and said that me and Chris were going to visit a college over the weekend or whatever, she says, well, why are you doing that? And I said, well, because we might want to go there. And she said, well, where do you think you're going to get the money for that? I said, we ain't got the money to put you through college. And that immediately basically broke me. And I was done at that point, to the point where I didn't care. I really didn't care anymore. So it wasn't long after that I left home, and, it was hell, because I think that was a pivotal point in my life that could have gone so differently. I mean, I was 18 years old. And I just saw no future at that point, because, and yes, somebody might say, oh, well, you could have gotten a loan or whatever. I had no idea about any of that, because I was kind of sheltered as a child to things. But B, my parents made a lot of money, so I knew I couldn't get financial aid. And back then, getting a student loan wasn't as easy as it is now, I don't think, because it was mostly you got financial aid through your parents, or your parents paid for it. And I don't remember anybody ever talking to me about financial aid in any way. So I just didn't think about it after that. I kind of self-sabotaged at that point. And, I was kind of like over it. I was just over it. I couldn't believe that my own mother would say that and not say something like, well, good, good. Maybe it's something you'll be interested in, and, don't worry about it. We'll find a way. I mean, that's what your parents are supposed to say to you. They're not supposed to say to you, oh, what's the point? You're not going to be able to afford it anyway, or we can't afford to help you with it anyway. That's like, I don't know where my mother thought that would be a smart thing to say, but it really was a moment in my life that made me just give up, because I finally thought maybe if I did this with Chris, even though I didn't necessarily want to go to business school, I think that if I just figured whatever Chris was doing, because we were best friends, he was going to be the only person to be able to motivate me to keep going, and vice versa. And I think we would have gotten through it. It was only a 2-year school. It was 2 years to begin with, I believe. And then after that, you can carry it further. But I really feel like, looking back on it now, if I would have done it, I think it would have made a huge impact on my life, because ultimately that's what I wanted to do, was start a business. So, and I believe that, and I never ended up going back to school, because after, a long time, it just was pointless for me to bother, thinking about doing anyway. But anyway, so my point is, stay in school, kids. No, my point is, if you have the opportunity to go to business school, that's definitely, especially if you've not ever ran a business, like a legitimate business. And, I'm not talking about going to craft fairs. I'm talking about a business where you have employees, or where you are doing, your own advertising, marketing, you have customers, you're making a living. That type of business. Not, oh, I do this on the side, I bake cakes, I do craft fairs. To me, as much as that's a business, that's not what I'm referring to, because that type of business isn't the same as something that is a full-time, gives you a full income, and it's legitimately a business. Now, those are the type of businesses I've dealt with. And if you've never dealt with something like that before, and you want to now have a business online, or specifically on YouTube in the crafting community, which is basically what I'm talking about today, but this kind of can be a broad subject at the same time. But if you've never had any kind of business like that, then it might be a good idea to go to a community college and learn the basics of sales, which is important, marketing, which is important, finances, taxes, the whole 9 yards. Those things are important. And if you've not done any of that stuff, it's important to go take some courses. It might be a good idea, because it can really trip you up if not, if you don't do those things and you've never run any kind of business before. But despite all that, just in general, I try to express to people, because I've helped a lot of people start channels, which I'll always do. And anybody that ever comes to me wanting to start a YouTube channel just to do crafts or whatever, I'll always help them, encourage them in every way I can. Excuse my voice. It's like, bleh. It's from New Year's Eve still. Anyway, I'll always encourage people. Anything that you want to do, I feel like if it's something you're passionate about and you want to give something a try, you should always, encouraging somebody to do it is always a good idea. Now, having a YouTube channel just to do crafts and stuff, I'm not talking about business-wise. I'm just talking about just to do crafts. That's way different than making it into a business online that you're going to make decent money at. And so I'm talking mostly about that today, about people who say they want to do what I'm doing, which is making a living online, which, a little backstory on that was, in 2015, I started a YouTube channel. I had a business. I had a cleaning business. Prior to around the time I started my channel, which was actually, was it 2016? No, it was like 2015, I guess. Was it? I don't think so, actually. I think it was more 2016. I think. Oh, good Lord. Maybe it was 2015. I don't remember. But I was still working, but I had cancer at the beginning of 2015. I was diagnosed with cancer. They were able to remove the cancer. Everything was fine. It was no big deal. Okay, great. But there was a lot of complications that came after that surgery. Well, my cleaning business took a hit because of that, because I couldn't pay my girls if I wasn't out there marketing and getting them the work. And I couldn't even pay myself, because if I'm not doing the cleaning too, and my girls, weren't able to work for me because they, you know what I mean? Like, it was hard for me to keep up on everything. It was when I was being, sick and having complications. So ultimately, over the year that I had the cancer surgery, I had to let go of my girls. And when I had the girls that worked for me and my business was going good, I didn't have time to have a YouTube channel. I didn't have time to do art, period, really. For a long time, I didn't do a lot of arts and crafts and stuff. But once I did, didn't have my business as big as it was. Not that it was huge in any way, but I mean, I made a really good income. I was making one year, actually at its peak, I was making about $100,000 a year. But once that kind of wasn't that way anymore, I still had clients that held on with me despite my illnesses, because I've had them for 8-10 years. So I was still working. I just didn't have people work. I had one girl working for me kind of part-time, and then I had to let her go too. But I had houses that kept me kind of busy, but there was no more worrying about paying payroll and scheduling, and I wasn't working that hard to get new business, because like I said, I was still going through this illness, and so I didn't feel adding any business was going to do me any good. So I was basically just cleaning enough houses to get me enough money to survive, and that's it, because my body was rejecting cleaning houses and going out and do manual labor, because I was getting weaker and my body just took a hit. And I had arthritis already, fibromyalgia, and a lot of back problems. So, I had to, I just did what I could do. And so I started my YouTube channel because I got into doing some sort of arts and crafts to kind of keep my mind off of what was going on, because I wasn't working as much as I was, and I needed something, because I have one of those minds that always likes to go. And so I needed something else to do, basically, is what it comes down to. And so I figured I had the time, and, not right away, but I started doing stuff before I even had a channel. I was doing more of my art and stuff. And then I thought, maybe I should do a YouTube channel. And it had nothing at all to do with money. I could care less about anything of that nature. I never even thought about it. It wasn't to make money. It wasn't for a business reason. Nothing. It was completely the opposite. It was totally just for me to have a hobby and to keep my mind off of what was going on somewhat, and just basically supplement the time I was just sitting around doing nothing at home but being depressed because I couldn't work as much. I was still working pretty much full time, but for me, I was so used to working like 18 hours a day and getting this like adrenaline rush off of being a workaholic and, always on the go. And, then on the weekends I was, going out with friends if I wasn't working the weekend. And so I was always go, go, go. And then when I got sick, I had a lot of friends that either A, moved away during that time, or B, just decided that, they didn't have time for me because I was sick, and, I wasn't about to beg anybody to have time for me. So I just found that I had more time on my hands to do arts and crafts. And so I did. And when I started my channel, I figured, I'll just do this. It'll be fun, because there is a lot of things that, maybe somebody would want to learn from me. I don't know. But it had nothing at all to do with business, making a business. I had no intentions ever. There wasn't oh, well, maybe in the future. Nothing. There was nothing. It was just me wanting to get online, have fun, and meet some new people because I needed the stimulation, pretty much. So I started my channel and started doing videos, and I found that I enjoyed it. And I also found that my channel kind of grew in a fluke way. And I come to find out that, channels typically didn't grow that fast, grow that much in such a short period of time as mine did. It was a fluke. That's all I can explain. I don't really know how else to explain it because it grew. I was growing about 1,000 subscribers a month, 1,000 to 1,500 subscribers in a month, every month for a good year. And in the first year having my channel, I had 12,000 subscribers, which was crazy. In that time, it still wasn't nothing to do with business. None of that happened until later. But in that time, I was still going through a lot of health issues. I was still going through a lot of problems. And then my health stuff got worse. Instead of getting better, it got worse for a little while. And in that time, Chris had moved in to help out because I could no longer clean houses at that point. Okay, I'm back. I had to stop for a second. I had to take care of the dogs and I had to go to the bathroom. Anyway, as I was saying, I got sick and my illnesses started to get worse. And Chris had to move in. I had to depend on him because at that point I was living here by myself, paying my bills and whatnot, car payment, medicines, household bills, all 9 yards. And then I went from that to, as I got worse and worse, I literally couldn't work. And so at that point, I had to depend on Chris to kind of take over, which he did reluctantly, which caused a lot of issues, but we won't get into that. So, for about a year, I wasn't working. And in that time, the craft community was so helpful because, and this is I've said this before, this is, I'm just going to touch on this, but if it wasn't for the craft community, I don't think I could have ever have gotten on my feet and ever have gotten my medicine, stuff like that. Because although Chris was paying bills, my medicine was more expensive than even he could afford after paying all the bills like the mortgage and the car payment and yada, yada, yada. So the fact that the craft community was pitching in and, I never, didn't even ask for it. And they were just so kind to me. It was it was crazy. I owe them everything for that. And in return, I knew I could never pay back the amount of kindness I received. But I always said that I would always pay it forward as much as possible. And I've done my best to do that in the last 2 years. But anyway, as time drew by and Chris was having a lot of issues because he's got bipolar or whatever, and he was not medicated, and he was making life miserable for me as I started to finally feel better. And I didn't really want him living there anymore. And I knew that him leaving meant that I had to then go back to paying for everything, plus paying for medications, new medications, and other things that I wasn't having to deal with before. So, but I had no job, and going back to cleaning houses was not an option at this point because I had been away from it for so long that my back got worse. Because while I was cleaning houses, I kept my back strong. and I kept my arthritis. It was because I did so much physical work, it kept my arthritis kind of at bay. It was there, definitely, but it was definitely not as bad. And my back was not as bad during that time. But then once I stopped, and just like my doctor had said, once you stopped, it's all, stop cleaning houses, it's going to go downhill fast. And it did. And my body just couldn't do it anymore. I had, being as sick as I was for that period of time between 2015 to 2017, 18. It was like the end of 2017, I guess. Beginning of 2018, something like that. No, I don't remember. Honestly, I'm really bad with remembering the dates. But anyway, but being sick all that time, on and off, definitely took its toll. So anyway, at that point, I had to figure out something because I needed an income. Initially, I was going to sell the house. There was a lot going on at that time, and luckily, I was able to open my Etsy store, and that was the first thing that kind of helped me get somewhere, because I never thought of my subscriber base, which at that time was probably around 18,000, 16,000, somewhere around there, but it wasn't something I thought of as a way to make money. I didn't think of it that way. It never crossed my mind really. But I knew at that point when I needed to do something, and I needed to do something where I didn't have to leave the house. I knew that I had to figure something out. And so that's where my focus turned. I thought, okay, I've made businesses out of nothing on many occasions in the past. So I got to figure this out, and it's got to work, because if it doesn't work, it's all or nothing at this point. So basically what it comes down to is I started my store. My store was doing well. My store did well. And then a friend of mine suggested that I start a Patreon. Which I didn't even know what that was. But when I looked into it, I thought, okay, that's a good idea, because maybe then, because I kind of felt bad. Like there were people that still wanted to help me out. And, to an extent, there are people that helped me out in ways I could never, repay, which was helpful for me to start my Etsy business. But I also wanted to do something where it was more geared towards me being able to give something back. And with the Patreon, I was able to set up classes and, different tiers for things. And this way, it wasn't just somebody helping me out. If they wanted to support my channel, it's a great way to do so. And, that right there was a great help, because, my store went so far, but that was definitely a help, because I needed to make sure I made enough money to survive in my house, because selling it turned out to not be the best option, because if I sold my house, what I pay in mortgage, I would pay that times 50% to rent somewhere. So it would just be a waste. There was no point in moving out of the house. So my Patreon worked out for me. And then, another year goes by and things are going well between my store and my Patreon, but at the same time, I was still struggling. I had, a lot of medical bills, and still do. And my medicines were expensive, and, my store, it would go in ebbs and flows kind of, so it was like I had to figure something else out. And then I saw 2 or 3 different channels, 2 of which were not even craft related. They were something totally different. And they were on YouTube, and they were doing auctions. And I didn't think of it at first. I kind of just watched and observed and thought about it and went back and forth on it for about 6 months, because I wasn't sure it's what I could do. I didn't know how to incorporate that. I didn't know if that was going to be something that the craft community would want. And then I saw, I kept an eye on the craft channel that I was watching, that was the one craft channel that was doing auctions. And then the first time I saw somebody that I knew doing auctions was Emily, because Emily Welda, you guys, some people know her. She was doing auctions, and I thought, okay, she was doing auctions in a different way though. She was doing a lot of handmade things and stuff like that. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that because, I don't have time to make a lot of handmade things. She was getting donations from people that were giving her handmade things to do the auctions with. And I knew I didn't want to have to depend on anybody giving me anything. So I knew that I had a lot of stock built up from not my store, but just stuff I got from the Creative Reuse and from thrift stores and wherever. Because when I was sick and I didn't have any money, it was a lot easier to go down to the Creative Reuse and take $5 or $10, give a donation and get a couple bags of things. And over time that built up and I had a lot of stuff. So, and a lot of it I used for like making kits and this, that, and the other, and doing this, that, and the other with. But anyway, so I figured I would start with the stuff I had piling up in a room. And for like the first 6 months, I pretty much was using all of that stuff, almost. Not quite, probably like 4 months. And I started doing auctions. And the auctions turned out to be a really great way for me personally to A, get rid of the stuff in that room, B, make enough money to supplement between my store, the Patreon, YouTube. Don't listen to me. Look, if somebody wants to start a YouTube channel because they think they're going to get paid a lot of money from YouTube, just forget it. Forget it. You're not going to get paid a lot of money from YouTube. You have to have like 350,000 subscribers to make decent money on YouTube. I'm lucky to make $150, $180 a month. I'm lucky if I make that much. Now, yes, did I have one video that hit over the summer that made me a good amount of money? Yep. I made like $1,000 or like $1,200, I think, off of one fluke video that YouTube decided to push. It was a really bad video. It wasn't even a video, it was a live stream. It was really bad. So I was so shocked about that. But that was the one and only time in all this time I've had my channel something like that has happened. But now, of course, I'm back to making like next to nothing, which it's not nothing. I mean, it's helpful. It pays a bill, but to survive on by myself, keep in mind, I don't have a husband. I don't have family. I don't have people living here. It's me by myself. So I had to figure out how to do this by myself. And doing the auctions between all three, all three needed to be in place in order for me to make enough to survive on. And when that started happening and the ball was rolling and it was finally, I was like, wow, this might be a way to hopefully sustain an income to, not have to sell my house, not have to, move who knows where and live off of who knows what. Do you know what I mean? So it was a way for me to, survive. But I'll tell you right now, what people don't understand is when I started doing that, I had like around 20,000, 18,000, whatever it was, subscribers. I don't remember. I had a pretty decent following of people that I have built up for a long time, who trusted me, who learned from me, who I was personally invested in, a lot of people who I knew, they knew me. I had a following. If I didn't have that, this would not have happened. And that's why I'm telling this whole rambling on story for however long, because that's the number one key thing that I want to get across to everyone that is interested in making a business out of your YouTube following or whatever, your YouTube life, whatever the heck it is, your crafting community, period. Is you need to start with the following and not the business. I've given that advice to a lot of people, and there are some people that will blatantly ignore what I tell them as if I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's kind of like, I use this analogy, right? Here. I use this analogy. So let's say you open a brick and mortar style business, right? You have a storefront. Okay, and this is your craft business. That's your craft business, right? Your craft store, whatever. So when you open a craft business, anytime you open a brick and mortar, when I say brick and mortar, I mean a physical building that you work in, have employees, whatever. Your following is the same as when you open a business like this and you have an advertising budget. Because if you just open the business, sure, you'll get some people that are, passing by in their car, you'll get some people stopping in for that reason because they're passing by. But ultimately, if you do not advertise or promote your business, it's going to crash and burn. There's not, you're not going to get nowhere near where you need to get. You have to set aside income for advertising. That's like the number one thing that you do. That's more important almost than stocking your store. You have to have advertising. So with YouTube, I don't know how their logo looks. So with YouTube, let's say you want to have a craft business on YouTube or on Etsy, but a lot of people want to link that with their channel, right? So your advertising budget for a brick and mortar store is the same as your following. Okay? So first comes, you make your YouTube account and you start making videos. Okay? Then you gain a following. Okay? Once you have a decent following, and when I say decent following, I'm not talking about 1,000, 4,000, 5,000. I'm talking at least 10 to 15,000 subscribers. That's when you can turn it into a business. And not the other way around, which is unfortunately what I see a lot of. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there exceptions to that rule? I'm sure. I'm sure there could be an exception. I have not seen it yet. I'm just saying. I have not seen anybody open a business, then have a YouTube video, then have a YouTube channel to promote their business, and then be successful enough to have a following that feeds their business. You see what I mean? It doesn't work that way. You need to advertise first, and your advertising is your following. That's where your advertising is. That's the same equivalent as advertising your craft business. You don't open the business without having some sort of advertising. You advertise the second you open your business, or even before you open your business. So you need that following. Okay? It's very important. Very, very, very important. And guess what? That might take 2-3 years to get. And unfortunately, people want the get rich quick. I'm going to build my business and in a year it's going to be thriving, and they don't have any kind of following. They have nothing going on, and they think that they can just jump in and start a business and people will find them. And yeah, you might find some people that way, but it's going to be harder. And I'm going to explain why this is the wrong way to do it, starting with the business, then trying to get the following. And I'll explain that. Because the reason why it works the other way around is because when I started doing craft videos, my mind wasn't about business. If I were to have, why am I going to write anything? I don't know. It's not going to make a difference. But if I would have started my YouTube channel with the intent of using it to steer a business immediately, what that would have done would be, is anybody that came across my channel would have immediately realized that I was looking to build a business, because obviously you can't build a business on YouTube without talking about it on YouTube, right? So, but if you have no videos, no experience, no, investment in the craft community, because like I said, the craft community and the following is your key here. Absolutely. So if you don't have a following and you don't have the respect of the craft community and you don't have the amount of, if you didn't pay your dues, in other words, in the craft community, as far as YouTube goes, why would they want to buy something from you? They don't know you. You don't have any videos. You don't have anything, other than, here, look, go to my store. Here, you could buy this. Here, you could do that. And that's the difference. See, if somebody comes onto YouTube with the immediate thought of, I'm going to start a business because I see Stacy do it, so I'm going to do what she's doing. I'm going to make a business, and then I'm going to get on YouTube and I'm going to promote my business. That's backwards. And guess what that's going to do? Because most people in the craft community aren't stupid. And most people in the craft community want to buy from people they trust. And if they don't know you, how do they trust you? They're not. Craft community people are not stupid. And if you get on there and try to pretend like you're doing crafts because you want to really, really be a part of the community, because that's another key thing, is if you're not invested in the community itself, people will realize that. And that will work against you. And so when they get on somebody's channel and they see that, they have, barely any subscribers, but yet they're trying to sell something, and they don't see them doing any videos teaching them anything, or live streams or whatever, doing anything to teach them anything, or that they've paid their dues by being around for a long period of time prior to ever making a business out of it, but to teach and to have fun and to gain friends and to have an investment in the craft community and get to know them, and where it wasn't about business. If they don't see that, it's going to show, and it's not going to help you. And that's why it's really important to, if you want to legitimately, there's no such thing as a get rich quick. And unfortunately, there are people that have it in their head that I can do what this person's doing, and they don't realize that the only reason I have a business today is because I have 26,000 subscribers. That's it. If I had 1,000 subscribers, I'd have no business. You know what I mean? That's it. It's just the facts. Now, if people want to prove me wrong, okay. And like I said, there are always going to be an exception here or there, but it's kind of like winning the lottery. The person that wins the lottery is the exception. The odds of winning the lottery is like 1 billion to 1. Are you really going to count on being the exception to the rule? And you're going to waste all your time and efforts into being to think that maybe you could be the exception? It's pointless. You might as well put the work in first that you need to put in, because you're going to gain more that way than trying to be the exception and jumping in with a business that, you know what I mean, you don't have the following to. And I'm not trying to sit here and go, well, I have a lot of following. No, that's not what this is about at all. It's what I'm trying to get across is invest in your channel. Forget trying to make money off of people, because if that's why you've come on there in the first place, it's not going to work that way. It just doesn't. I don't know anybody where that's worked ever on YouTube at all. No one. It just doesn't. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I'm just saying, I personally have watched channels who have come on with a business, and in 5 years, they're still pretty much in the same place. Because people, when they go to a new channel, they want to see that you're there because you really want to be there to do art and to teach what you've got to, what you've learned, and to make, to make friends in the community and be part of the community. They don't want to know that you've started a channel and the next day you're selling stuff and, oh, here's my Etsy store and here's my, here's my business and here's this and here's that. Unfortunately, that's not going to earn their trust, and they're not going to want to subscribe to your channel. Which is why my suggestion is always to people, don't try to sell anybody anything. Initially, build up your channel. Build up your channel for a little while. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an Etsy store and that you shouldn't make handmade things and put them in your Etsy store. Now, as you're making things, if you want to every now and again make a journal, make a this, make a that, and put it in your Etsy store and say, hey, I'm listing it in my Etsy store in case somebody's listed, in case somebody's interested. That's one thing. But going further than that without a following, trying to make an actual living at that type of thing, is going to be really, really hard to do without the following. It's just going to be hard to do. And you can't force a following. And I see some people, and to me, I'm sorry, but there is some shady stuff going on. And I see people doing things to get subscribers. And it is ridiculous. And it is shady as hell. And it garners no respect from anybody. If you are going around begging for subscribers, like begging full on, constantly going and posting in every single group and everywhere you could possibly think of, please subscribe to me, please, and you're going on and on and on and spending that much time, instead of investing in your channel, which is what you should be doing, you're wasting so much time trying to go around, getting everybody in the world, everybody you talk to, it's all about just getting them to subscribe to you. Every time you go on a live stream, you're like, hey, subscribe to me. Oh, hey, you should come and subscribe to my channel. Like, first of all, if you walk into somebody's live stream and you're trying to get people to subscribe to you, the person that owns the live stream should kick your ass out. Because to me, that's rude to do in somebody else's live stream. Unless it is invited by the person running the live stream. That's kind of a faux pas. You don't do that. You don't walk into somebody's live stream and be like, go subscribe to me. It's rude. And you don't do that in other people's groups either. That's rude. Not unless that person, you've talked to the group owner, or it says in the group rules that you're allowed to do that. Self-promote. Whatever. It's considered rude. And there are a lot of people that do that. There's also a lot of people that try to get subscribers that aren't in the craft community to subscribe to them, because they go around and they befriend a whole bunch of people in a bunch of various genres on YouTube that have nothing to do with crafting whatsoever. But they go around and they get a bunch of people to subscribe to them that have nothing to do with crafting. And to me, that is not somebody who is to be respected in the craft community, because if you are not legitimately getting your subscribers from other crafters who are actually going to be there to, watch and learn from your channel and everything, and you're just going around getting strangers who, are hairdressers and whatever, and you're kind of like doing one of those subscriber swap deals where it's just about numbers so that you can make a sale, I don't trust people like that. Because to me, they're all about the money. If everything in their channel is about money, 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 and everything, and they barely have any subscribers, and all they do is talk about how they're trying, they're making money, they're, here, pay me this and this and this and this. And going around getting subscribers just for the sake of having subscribers, even though they're not even crafters. That to me is not somebody who belongs in the craft community or belongs having a business in the craft community for sure, because they are not there for the right reason. They are there strictly for money. And I don't agree with that. Somebody who's just, their only focus is making a buck, you could tell these people from a mile away, because they usually, you know, they're not hard to figure out. But those people, they're never going to get anywhere, because they make it very obvious that their sole purpose is money. And see, that's the problem. You make your sole purpose on YouTube about money, and guess what? People aren't going to trust you. You're not going to have a business out of that. And you're not going to get very far. You have to earn the respect of the people in the craft community, and you have to prove to them that you're here for the right reasons and that you're not just here making YouTube videos to make money. And I know that sounds weird coming from somebody who makes money on YouTube, but there's a difference when you have spent countless years, months, whatever, making videos and content. And to me, it's always been about the art. Always. And it still is. And it's always about teaching people. That's why I do mixed media mashup. And that's why I do classes. And that's why I do, lots of different things. But yes, has some of the focus switched to every 2 weeks I do an auction? Yep. But I don't talk about it any other time. I do my auctions. I put up a link on my own personal Facebook page. I don't even put it up in my group. I put it on my own Facebook page. I might tag some of my friends in the craft community about my auction, and that's it. I don't really talk about it any other time. I'm not saying that that's probably not the best thing to do, but I don't really want my channel to be hyper focused around sell, 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 and have everything be about that. I want my channel to be about art, and yes, every couple of weeks I do an auction. That's it. I barely do a lot of self-promotion because I always forget to say things about my Patreon. It's just me being forgetful. I really should actually do that, but I also hate the feeling of, I don't want to have to be somebody who has to always say things like that. I don't know. I know I should, but anyway, some other things, that are important is in growing your channel. It's really important, and this is where it's going to be a do what I say, not as I do. It's really important to do videos. Now, yes, I have not done a lot of videos lately. This is the first one of this year, but I'm actually going to be doing craft videos more than I was because I got busy trying to survive, and I was doing a lot of live streams because it was easier. But to be honest, my channel did not grow from live streams. I didn't start doing live streams until the second year, almost third year into my channel. And when I started doing mostly live streams, my channel went stagnant. And that's because live streams don't get promoted like videos do. That's number one. Number two, there are a lot of people that would much rather watch a video than have to sit through a 3 and 4 hour live stream just watching you craft. Because usually when you do a video, you are talking to the camera, you are explaining what you're doing, and it's a little bit more tutorial-like, and people tend to like that more, and that will grow your channel more in return. So I always say to people, you should do 1 to 2 videos per week that are no more than 45 minutes about long with a specific subject that you are teaching, and then do 1 live stream a week. No more than 2, but 1 live stream a week on your channel where you just do whatever you want or whatever. Now, if you're not looking to build your channel and you don't care about any of that, then this doesn't, you know, this is not referring to you. If you're just looking to have fun and you just want to do what you want to do and you're not looking to grow your channel, then do whatever you're doing. It's all good. It doesn't matter. But I'm talking to those who actually want to grow their channel. You definitely don't want to get in the habit of just doing live streams, because live streams will not grow your channel. You have to trust me on this. I did not start doing live streams because YouTube did not have live streaming for like the first year and a half, 2 years I was on YouTube. And then that's where my channel grew. And then as soon as I was doing more, you know, like live streams, and at first it was okay because I was not doing them that often, but as soon as I started doing them more often, I noticed that, you know, my channel was kind of stalled out because I wasn't doing videos. And I'd have people say to me, oh, I haven't seen any videos from you. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, my live streams kind of are videos because when I'm done with them, they go up as videos. But see, the difference is what happens is when you do a video and put that video up on YouTube, it goes out as, you know, a subscription. It'll go out to all your subscribers and it'll be in a lot of the recommended things in the craft community. If you do a live stream, it might show up on just the subscribers that you have, some of their like YouTube front page. Like when you go to the home page on YouTube, it might show like, okay, it shows that I'm live or whatever. And it'll go out to some subscribers. But if somebody doesn't see that initially, once you're done live streaming, it disappears and you don't see it, even though the recording is up. Do you know what I'm saying? But a video, on the other hand, it'll pretty much be out there and it'll keep showing up until you actually click on it, like for a few days. You know what I mean? Like every time you go to YouTube, that's why sometimes if you go to YouTube and you go to the homepage, just youtube.com, and you know, if you're signed in, even if you ignore it, every time you refresh that page, somewhere on there that there's going to be videos that are repeating themselves that are just there until you like, all right, I'll click on it and see what this is going on. You know what I mean? Have you ever felt yourself like, why do I keep seeing this video? All right, I'll go click on it. That's because it's a video and not a live stream. I can't stress that enough, that if you want to grow your channel, you have to do videos. Videos, tutorials, stuff like that. And people think, you know, I'm telling them something, and they're like, well, she's doing live streams. Yeah, I'm detrimenting my channel by doing that. I know that. I realize that. I've said it 100 times. By me not doing videos, I'm hurting myself. I'm not telling you to do videos because I'm sitting here going, yeah, do videos. I don't want you to do live stream. It's nothing like that. It's the opposite. I'm trying to tell you how to grow your channel, how to succeed. Do videos. Do videos under an hour. Tutorials. Show people what you're doing. Have a project in mind. Show them what you're doing. Do it for a month. And I guarantee you, your subscribers will go up. And you'll notice a difference. Do only one live stream a week and do 2 videos, tutorials a week. And you'll see. And you'll see a difference. Now, depending on how you're doing your videos and depending on what you're doing, will vary how much your channel is growing. But, you know, if you are putting some time into it and you're showing what you're doing, and, you know, it does make a difference. It really does. So, if you teach what you know and do videos and teach everything you know, pretty much, if there's something you figured out, that's the best thing to teach. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to save it for myself because I don't want anybody else to know this because then I can't sell it. Don't think like that. Teach it. You're going to gain people's trust and they're going to appreciate you more and be more willing to be engaged with you if you are showing them everything you know. Everything. Also, one of the big things about growing your channel and gaining the community's trust is to be yourself. And when I say be yourself, I mean, don't get on YouTube with some all of a sudden you're putting on this professional character and you're acting different than you normally do, because it's going to show that it's an act. And people pick up on that, and it's disingenuous, and it's not comfortable for people to watch. No matter how good of an actor you think you are, don't do it. Be yourself and act like, and I've said this from day one, act like you're in the room with your best friend. And the camera just happens to be them that day. But pretend that your best friend is sitting next to you and talk to the camera like it's your best friend that you've been comfortable with for 20 years. It's so important that you do that. It's so important that you don't put on an act, put on a show, act like somebody you're not. Those things don't work in this community. It might work in the mainstream YouTube community where everybody's just, dealing with mostly teenagers and stuff. But that stuff doesn't work with, people in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are doing crafts. We want somebody who's down to earth, who they can talk to, who they can listen to, who has something to say, who talks about their life, who focuses on, saying things that might interest them, or just talking about the little things in life. Not necessarily somebody who's rigid and only talks about, of course you have to talk about what you're doing, but, there are lulls in the time when you're doing something repetitive that you can talk about other things. And these things are important to give yourself a personality to people so that you're not just talking about crafts. You have to find the balance, and you'll find it after a while. But if you go into it with, oh, I'm going to act like this and I'm going to do this, you're going to set yourself up, and it's not going to look genuine like you're being yourself. Just be yourself. You don't need to go into it doing anything. Just go into it saying, I want to show people what I know, and I'm going to pretend that my best friend is across from me or next to me at the table, and I'm going to show it as if I'm trying to show and explain it to her. And, if that means, being goofy and silly, and if that's how I would normally be, then that's how I'm going to be. But you have to be the same off camera as you are on camera, so that there is no like, oh, I'm gonna, put on my performance face today so that I can do my YouTube, because that's gonna, people are gonna see through that and they're not gonna want to watch it. So, be yourself, be your down to earth self, just who you are, and don't worry about it. It'll come as it goes. You'll see. It'll work as, of course the first couple times is never going to be, the best, but trust me, it'll get better, but you can't do it any other way. I mean, I hear so many people talk about that, how, I hate when people are, they're not down to earth, or they're so rigid in the way they do everything, and blah, blah, blah. I hear more people that want somebody who's down to earth and who is just telling them like it is. They're not trying to be overly technical. They're not trying to be, overly kooky or whatever. They are just being themselves, and they're not trying too hard to put on some sort of act or to put on some sort of story time or to do this or do that. They're just being themselves at the root of it all. Do you know what I mean? There's no act there. That's the best way to be. Also, some do's and don'ts, especially when it comes to building your channel, or whatever, in the hopes to eventually make a business out of it. But really, your focus should definitely building that following, building your channel. That's going to get you there faster than if you do it any other way. I promise it will. One of the things is, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. That is so important. I can't stress that enough. Like, you see other YouTubers, or maybe one of your friends does YouTube videos, or somebody or somebody, started their channel around the same time you started your channel, or whatever. It is the worst thing you could possibly do to compare yourself to what anybody else is doing. Bad idea. that's going to lead to several bad habits. It's going to lead to competition, because you are going to, if you are focusing on what they are doing or not doing, whether, oh, why'd they do that video? They shouldn't have done that video. And all of a sudden you get this like negative thing going on every time you see their channel. Or you're jealous because they've got, and some of us, you know, we need to be self-aware when it's jealousy, because there's a lot, believe me, I hear things and I see things and I don't understand it, but a lot of times, especially with women have a tendency to get so competitive and so jealous, and therefore they get so catty that they forget that these same women are your friends. Okay? These women who also might have channels, they are your friends. Okay? They are your friends. First and foremost, they are part of the craft community, and we should have a respect for them, and we should be able to lift them up and give them credit when credit is due and not get competitive against them. You are not working against them. It is not a you versus them. Okay? That's not how it works. And if you have that attitude, you are going to fail, because it is going to make itself very, very evident. Believe me. You need to make sure that you are keeping yourself in check, and that you realize that the other women on this platform who have channels and are doing crafting stuff, they're no different than you. And a lot of them are your friends, and you know them, and you have known them. Support them. Go over and give them love on their channel. Tell them you're doing a great job. You know, I love that video. Talk about other people's channels in your channels. I don't understand why that's such a bad thing. It's not going to make people unsubscribe from you and go subscribe to them and never turn back. It doesn't happen that way. Just because you promote another channel doesn't unpromote you. It does the opposite. It is so much better for your channel to be somebody who promotes other people, who speaks nicely of other people and their channels and whatnot. And helps other channels get started, encourages other channels, and compliments other channels. That's going to, you ever hear the saying, you catch more flies with honey? Now, I'm not asking anybody to be fake, but it should be genuine. You should genuinely feel that way. I know I do. When I see people doing great on their channel, that makes me happy, especially if I've known them, especially if I help them set their channel up. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy seeing everybody do well. And it's important that you do too, because this is how the drama in the community that can happen from time to time can stop. Because if we all are encouraging each other instead of looking at them as competition and, oh, well, they're just copying what I did. Who cares? Who cares? I've had so many people copy me over the years and do everything that I do to the point of exhaustion. And no, is it right to copy somebody else? Now, if it's something that's a well-known craft that everybody's been doing for 10 years and you do it and somebody else does it, that's not copying you. That's just somebody doing something. But if it's something you made up, or it's something that, or it's something that you learned that isn't well known, that you learned from somebody else, you definitely need to give credit to that person. Or if the inspiration came from somebody else, say, hey, I was inspired by so-and-so because they did something really cool and I wanted to do something really cool too. It's really important to do stuff like that. It's not cool to just watch somebody do something that you've never seen before, that isn't really out there on YouTube, and they're doing it for the first time, and you get some sort of inspiration to do something either the same or similar, and you just do it and never give them credit. That's a crappy thing to do, and trust me, people find that out very quickly. Because people do searches when they see something new, and they want to know if somebody has done it before. So be the bigger person. Say where you learned it from. Say where you got the inspiration. You know, in this day and age, it's not okay to learn something from somebody and then go, oh, I forgot where I learned it from. Figure it out. I've done it in the past. There's times I've forgotten where I've seen it. But I usually try to go back and find the video after I get the video edited and try to, you know, put the link in the thing. Now, if it's something I genuinely didn't remember and I tried to search for it because it was something I saw 6 months ago and I tried to search for it again and couldn't find it, that's different. But overall, you can always pretty much find the original person that you learned it from. And if it's something brand new to you, that might not even be brand new to YouTube necessarily, but it was brand new to you and you learned it from a friend of yours, it is really important to put your friend's link in your description and say, hey, my friend has a channel. I learned how to do this from her. Go take a look at her video. That's the right thing to do. If you're not doing that, then you need to take a look at what you're doing, why you're not doing that. Because by you failing to promote other people, it's not going to make you look any better. It's not going to make more people subscribe to you. It's going to end up hurting you in the long run. So make sure you're giving credit to people that are in the community. You know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's not going to hurt your channel. It's going to do nothing but help it. Also, you know, when I say, like, don't worry about what other people are doing, don't get wrapped up in drama that other people are involved in. Definitely. That is a number one, do not do. Don't get involved in drama, especially when you're a really small channel. You shouldn't do it regardless. But when you're trying to build your channel, the last thing you want to do is get involved with people that have a tendency to get involved in drama. It is so bad for your channel. So if you meet somebody or start talking to somebody who's also has YouTube videos or whatever, and you know that they have a tendency to be involved in a lot of drama, or you could tell maybe that they have a tendency to maybe potentially down the line, you could see that maybe there could be a problem there, stay away. No matter how lonely you are and you want friends, stay away from those who have a tendency to cause or create a lot of drama. Okay, because there are people that love to go around and just talk about other people. And it's not even anything. It's one thing to vent to a friend of yours about something that's bothering you, but it's another thing to go around and talk about other channels that you don't even really know, just for the strict fact that you're jealous of them. Oh, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? You know, blah, blah, blah. And putting down some other channel just because, you know, just because you don't know them and you're jealous, or you don't have as many subscribers as them, or whatever the case may be. Don't assume anything about anybody. Don't assume somebody's doing something against you when you don't know the facts, first of all. Never do that. It's not ever going to be good for you to say, oh, I bet they do this and this and this, and spread that around, because guess what? You can bet they do anything, but that doesn't mean they are doing that. And it's usually your brain that's coming up with this, and it usually has nothing to do with them. It's not going to do you any good. You know? Try to stay as positive about other people's channels and other people's things as you can. Of course, you're always going to have people that are crappy in this community. That's a given. Believe me, I know of many. And I just stay away from them because I know that, I mean, eventually most all of them get figured out on their own, you know. And I mean, whatever, you can't, You can't get involved in that. You don't let it be your. Keep your eye on what you need to do with your channel. And it's like when you're in school and your teacher says keep your eye on your own paper. That is the perfect analogy. Keep your eye on your own channel. Don't worry about what this one's doing. Don't worry about what that one's doing. Don't worry about what that one's doing. I don't care. Just don't worry about it. Just do what you're doing. And be very careful who you become all good best buddies with. Be very careful. Because that can be a detriment to your channel. Because there's a lot of people that become best buddies with somebody and that person turns out to be a nightmare. And then you feel like necessary to stand by their side because it's your friend and they end up taking you down with them. So be very careful. You don't know people. You can get on the internet till the cows come home and think you know somebody because you talk to them every day for a week straight and think they're your best buddy and you know them, but trust me, you don't. Okay, I've had several people screw me over in the craft community and I promise you there's a lot of them out there and I keep my distance from a lot of people because of it. And you really need to be very, very careful because there are people that will use you and or, do everything they can to keep you down so that they can rise up. And I hate to say that, but there are people doing that. So all I say is just exercise caution. Don't assume that everybody in the world is out for your best interest. You have to be out for your own best interest at the end of the day. Keep your eye on your own stuff. Promote your friends without, just get on there and have fun and teach what you know and learn new things. And don't be afraid to learn new things. And don't be afraid to, you have to learn in order to grow. There's no two ways about it. You can't know everything. You can't just get on and just be like, well, I just know everything and I know how to do everything and I'm going to do everything perfect and, whatever. You can't. You have to fail. Don't be afraid to show your failures either because some of my best videos are videos where I had to experiment and I didn't do what I set out to do initially. So be sure that you're willing to allow yourself to show that you are vulnerable and that you're human. You fail. You start out doing something. Oh, this didn't work out. Don't edit it out. Leave it in. Show everybody that you're a human and that it's okay. It's okay to mess up. That was the one thing I used to get comments on my videos all the time is that how I would leave in my mistakes and I wouldn't edit them out. I got comments all the time about people loved that. They hated when they would watch a video and it was completely edited so that everything just came out perfect. And then I would always leave in the mistakes and I would say, oh, look what I did. I screwed that up because I'm a human being. Just because I'm teaching you something doesn't still mean that I don't make mistakes because of course I do. Everybody does. That's how you grow. To this day, I make mistakes continuously. I mean, it happens all the time. I'm always putting pages in upside down or backwards, and I just figure out whatever. You know what I mean? Other than that, I'm trying to think of anything else. I think I've covered pretty much everything, and I've been on here for like, an hour and a half or so. But I just want to make sure that I'm just giving you my advice and what worked for me and what I see works for other people and what doesn't work. And what doesn't work is doing everything ass backwards because in this community, you have to go through the right avenues to get what you want. And it works better for you that way. And yeah, it's not going to be this, instant gratification. No, it might take a couple years before you can even build up a following. And not everybody finds that YouTube is for them. You might have to build up a following in a different way. You might have to build up a following in a different way so that you can succeed. You know what I mean? It might not even be YouTube that works for you. If your personality is not somebody who can be kind of relaxed and enjoy themselves, and if you get too stressed out over every video you make or live stream you do, maybe YouTube isn't your way. I mean, it's not for everybody. I think everybody should try it if they want to. I think everybody should give it a try, but understand that there are a lot of people that can't handle it, because one person can say a crappy comment and it just ruins them and they are just devastated. You know, and you got to have a little bit of a thick skin to do this. But at the same time, you know, you typically aren't going to get that many bad comments. You're going to get way more good comments, and that's what you should always focus on. But also, some people don't have the personality for it. You know what I mean? They'll get on there and they're like dead silent. They're too shy. And if you're doing this to build a following and to make a business out of it, that's going to work to your detriment. That's not going to help you. If you just want to get on and craft, who cares? That's not who I'm talking to. But if you're wanting to look forward to building a following so that you can eventually turn it into a business, you have to have some sort of personality. You have to have that personality that you could talk to nothing like I'm doing right now, because I'm talking to you and I know I'm talking to you. Do you know what I mean? I don't think of it as talking to nobody. I think of it as talking to my friends and helping my friends as best I can, because I get emails and it was just so much easier to do this than this way. I can just link the video to them and say, here, watch this. Hopefully this will help, because it was hard to type out so much. And then they would have so many follow-up questions, and it would take me like a month in all said and done to get back to every email back and forth. It would take like a month's time. Well, this is a little bit easier. And I know there are people that maybe didn't even, you know, think that they needed to know this information, but maybe it helped them. You know what I mean? Maybe they didn't think to ask this stuff, and maybe they were thinking about starting a business and getting on YouTube and, you know, had their hopes up that it was just going to do great, and they were going to go about it kind of backwards. This way, it gives you a little insight onto how to actually be successful. I want you to be successful if that's what you want to do. But there's also no guarantees. I always say there's no guarantees in my own stuff. I can't guarantee that my next auction isn't going to only make me, you know, $50 and then I won't be able to pay my mortgage. I can't guarantee that. You know what I mean? I can't guarantee anything I'm doing. Nothing. That's why it's like, if you need a guaranteed income, this is probably not the way to go, because you're not going to get a guaranteed income even if you're doing fairly well. And I consider what I do fairly well. I do fairly well. But my thought of success is different than most people. I don't need to be rich. I just need to be able to make my bills, even if it's by the skin of my teeth. I mean, I had to pay for tires that I wasn't planning on, and it kind of threw me for a loop, and my medicine's all due and stuff like that. So I'm still not financially stable 100%. You know, some months I have more money than others. And then there's months like this last month where it kind of threw me for a loop, and it's going to take me another month to kind of get through it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I do the best I can, and that's all you can do. But to me, that's enough for me. Do you know what I mean? And for some people, that's not going to be enough. And this might not be the way to go if you're looking to make a lot of money. This isn't going to happen that way. You would have to have quite the following, and that's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. I mean, there's very few crafters that have over, 50, 70,000 subscribers. Very few. And then on top of that, are those subscribers watching their videos, or have they fallen off the face of the earth and don't even care? I've seen that happen too. So, they'll have more subscribers than me, but I'm doing better. Does that make sense? And that happens sometimes. There's a lot of factors involved. So don't count on getting on YouTube and just being like, well, I'm just going to, I'll have, 20,000 subscribers in a matter of a year or two. You might not have 1,000 subscribers in a matter of a year or two. That's kind of how it goes, though. Unfortunately, it's not a guaranteed thing. It's not something where you can just bank on it. So anyway, I hope that was somewhat helpful. And if there's any questions, you can leave a comment always. And if I don't get back to your comment, you can email me, pinkpoodlecrafts@gmail.com, or message me on Facebook, which if you know my Facebook or in my group, you'll know how to find me on Facebook. If you're not in my group, if you look in the description below this video, you will find a link to various things I have going on, like my Patreon. I talked about that. I do classes, live classes, and I have some new things going on in my Patreon, by the way. I have a Crystal Sun Catcher of the Month club now, which is a tier on my Patreon that is $35 a month. You don't get classes or anything, but you'll get all my private live streams. You'll get to be in my private Poodle Pack Facebook group. It's different than the group that's below in the links below. In the links below, you'll find my public kind of Facebook group. We have another private group that's just for my Patreons. But if you want to join the Crystal Sun Catcher of the Month, basically you'll get something that looks like, let's see, I'll give you an example. This one has tape on it because I had to tape their name on it. These are my sun catchers. This one here has a sun on it. You'll get something to this effect. It'll be at least 12 inches long. And you'll get a different one every month for $35. And so that's a new tier on my Patreon. Also, if you want the classes and the crystal, it's a $55 tier. If you just want the classes and the access to the private, any of my patrons, any level that you join at, from $1 all the way up, you get access to my private live streams. But if you want, classes as well, just classes, no crystal, it's $25 a month. $10 a month will get you a class every 3 months. $15 a month will get you a class every other month. And $25 will get you a class every month. And these classes are, lengthy classes. They're not like, just an hour long, stupid class. We do all kinds of projects for several hours. Each class is, live. And if you can't make it live, you'll get the recording link and you can watch that as many times as you want. But otherwise, you can come to the live class. You can ask questions, share your photos, talk about what we're doing. I stay as long as you want me to. Most people leave way before me because I'll end up staying and people are done with their project and they don't want to stay no more and they're tired and they go. And I stay, as long as people are asking questions or, want me to show them a technique or something we're doing, I stay. But anyway, the link is below. It'll say Patreon. Check that out. It might be something you're interested in. $1 a month will get you all my live streams, my private live streams, which I do at least one a week, sometimes more. So it's just literally, it's $1 a month. There's no hidden fees, no nothing else. $1 per month. So that's 25 cents per stream because I do one a week. So it's 25 cents per private stream. And we work on all kinds of things like, whatever crafts I'm working on at that time. We just hang out and talk and it's private and there's no outsiders. There's nobody else, that it's just us, it's just us in the Patreon and there's no like trolls coming in, no drama coming in. It's just us, and which is a lot of fun. And then I have a Zibbit store below, linked below. And then I do auctions every 2 weeks. Which my next auction will be not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. And my auctions, I have things ranging from fabric sample books, fabrics of all kinds, vintage items, handmade items usually, boho kits, various craft kits, random craft supplies, all kinds of things. Cross-stitch kits, quilting fabric, everything you can think of, stuff to do mixed media with. I mean, it's crazy. I get such a wide variety. And most all of the auctions start at $1. So it might be something you might be interested in. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. If, like I said, if you have questions, you can always ask me questions and I can help you with anything you need. I also am not, like I said, I'm not an expert at anything that I just talked about. These are all just my experiences and what I've witnessed and what I've known that works, not just for me, but I've seen work for other people, and what I see that doesn't work for people. So I'm just trying to help anybody that, as I would like to see people succeed. I don't want to see somebody start a business thinking that just right off the bat, it's going to be everything you want it to be. Because that can be discouraging, and it could discourage people from ever doing anything in the future because they figure, oh, well, I just can't. It's just me. I can't do it. And it's really not. It's just you have to follow the right formula. Following comes before business. And it's important that way. And you should never do it just because you want to make money. And those people typically are pretty obvious because everything about their channel is money driven. From the get-go. Like, they don't even try to start by making a following and teaching anything. They go right for the jugular. And that's, that's not going to work out for them that well. So there's nothing wrong with making money on YouTube and utilizing the fact that you have a following. There's nothing wrong with that, except if you do it wrong. You know what I mean? If your following just thinks of you as somebody who has always just tried to sell them something, then it's not going to work. You know what I mean? My following knows I've been around a long time, and I never had any intentions of selling anybody anything. It just so happens that I didn't have a choice, because it was either that or sell my house. And so I had to do something, and this was the only thing I could feasibly think of where I didn't have to do anything extremely physical, even though I kind of do a lot of physical stuff with my work anyway, but it's not as much as it was with my cleaning business, for sure. But it was this or the alternative, which is lose everything. And I had to do what I had to do. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a great 2020. And we are going to do some fun things this year. And yeah, if there's any kind of craft or any kind of thing that you would like to see me try that maybe you haven't seen me try, put it in the description below, because I'd love to know what you think. In our group, we're about to do a vision board. This Sunday, I'm doing a live stream. And we're doing a challenge in the Pink Poodle Crap group. Pink Poodle Crafts group. We're doing a vision board challenge. So we're going to basically put together a vision board, and I have one here that I did in 2018. And I did this at the beginning of 2018. And this was my vision board, and I put all the things that I wanted to happen in 2018, and a couple of them came true, like getting my dogs, Winnie and Willow, which that's not them, but that's why I put those dogs there, because I wanted a white female poodle. And so that's why I put them there, because I was like, I really wanted that. And by the end of the year, I got it. No, at the beginning of that year, I got it. So what else on here? Be a boss, because I started my business. There are a lot of things on here that didn't exactly go as planned, but oh well, you do what you do, and at least there's one or two things on here, right? That's, the best thing you can ask for. But it was a lot of fun to make regardless. A lot of fun. And all it is a piece of cardboard. So if you have a piece of cardboard and you can cut out some graphics from a magazine or print some things out that you find online and have some stickers and embellishments and glitter and whatnot, you can make a vision board. And that's what we're going to do on Sunday at 7:30. I think I have it linked as. I think so. So 7:30 on Sunday. we are going to do this live on my channel in a live stream. So hopefully you can come and hang out and do it with us. And yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And anybody that completes it before the end of the month and puts a picture in our group gets a free class in February in my Patreon. So you'll get a free class, even if you're not one of my Patreon people. You'll get to come to my class for free in February. That's anybody that completes it by the end of January, by January 31st. So fun, fun, fun. So check out the link below for my channel. My group, Pink Poodle Pack Creative Crafty Playground. And now it's just Creative Playground. But check out my Facebook group. Join it if you haven't joined. Check out my Patreon. Join that if you would like to. And my Zibbit store and everything else. And I will see you guys later. Make sure you do what you love and love what you do. And be nice to people. Have a good day, night, evening, year. Bye.